there's so much more beyond the five senses world that we know. So just seeing them like being able to do puzzles and even play on the iPad with the blindfold on, like my jaw just drops, because with kids it's so much easier for them to learn this ability, so much more harder for adults to learn it.
Hey guys, welcome back to Start Young, and today I have a special guest, Gary Ng, who I used to work with many years ago, but why I brought him onto this show today is to talk about how he taught his kids, what is it called? Homeschooling. So Gary homeschooled his kids for a few years, and I always felt really interested in why did he do it, what are some of the benefits that you can consider. And so yeah, Gary, I just want to understand more about what made you guys decide to homeschool your kids?
How we want to raise our kids is come from our background. You either want to replicate the same thing or you want to avoid some of the mistakes that you've gone through it yourself. And for me, I became an entrepreneur straight out of uni, so I like the whole journey. I did okay in school, but actually in the lower grades, I didn't do too well. So I didn't quite attribute success in schooling as a mandatory thing that we needed to have. Some of the intellectual ideas, I could say that, with traditional schooling, you've been taught not to fail, right? So when you do tests, you need to get good grades, and everything is about conforming within a system, about going to school on time and allowing yourself when you can go for lunch, go to the toilets. Where's life? What about living life on your terms, which is what you're about and a lot of your teaching. I wanted to teach you living life on your own terms and create whatever you want. And even with money these days, if Bitcoin or cryptocurrency would continue the same trajectory it's gone for the last 10 years, if you invest now and until my kids become 18, they may not need to work a day in their life just from $1,000 or whatever, very small investments. So there's a lot that I wanted to teach them theoretically. But it was more a calling that you ever had those gut intuition to say let's do something. It was one of those moments. 2 weeks school was about to start, and my wife kind of was open and supported the journey. So I went down that path. So what happened at the very beginning? I thought let's teach school at home because they say at the primary schools.
So they were how old were they? Were they starting kindy?
So we had one I think was E1 and E3, and so they say that you can actually teach the primary school kids within a few hours instead of dragging the whole week. So that's what I've tried to do. I printed out timetables each day of what subject to teach in the morning, in the afternoon, and having the breaks. But me being a very spontaneous person, after maybe a few weeks, I worked out that it wasn't the best flow for me and for the kids as well. So from homeschooling, a very structured to less structured, to eventually, have you heard of the concept of unschooling?
No.
So unschooling is basically you teach them nothing at all. Because imagine you, even with the homeschooling, you teaching them subject at a certain time. The ownership of learning is Lynn, you learned about this because I taught you. But we know that there's an innate human drive to wanting to learn and grow. The minute that you're forcing them to learn, you're taking away the joy that I wanted to seek this information. Kids ask a lot of questions. They wanted to naturally learning to grow. So if you give them the right environment, instead of being on the device all the time, but with books and different things at that level, given with device and with the right permission level, you can get them access to certain information that is so readily available for them to learn and grow. So we moved on to unschooling, which is very unstructured and from a very traditional route is extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah, so give me an example of what a day looks like when you're unschooling.
So unschooling could be just nothing. It seems like there's no learning at all.
And so as in, are they free to be on device and do anything they want, watch TV, or are they?
Generally, we don't allow device and TVs at all. So that's part of providing an environment. Then go out to learn. I may initiate certain things. So hey, maybe we could do this and that. But even within each shopping trip, we talk about hey, we're getting charged GST. And talk about adding numbers together. How much does a car cost? All this is part of learning. They come to my business meeting with me, learning how adults talk. I met with an accountant and I explained to them, how much the accountant getting paid. When they see that the gardener coming in, and I explain to them how much the gardener get paid.
So you just have to put in an intention that whatever you're doing today with them, you're going to explain along the way how it's applicable to them. So then the schooling is very adaptive to your day-to-day running of your life.
Yeah.
Is that how you ran it?
And to the point that I started to moving towards, rather than just teaching them about stuff, because we all, as adults, we be so busy doing, we become human doing, but we're not as happy as kids, because kids research have done, they laugh like thousands of times more than the adults. So even if they're getting bored and not doing anything, that's practice and living life in itself. In fact, my original journey of wanting to teach them, they actually schooling me on how to have more patience, more tolerance, and how to have spontaneous fun. So from the unschooling, then we started moving into cosmic schooling.
Wow. Cosmic schooling, never heard of that too.
So tapping into your intuition, tapping into your a greater level of consciousness. I started teaching them about the different chakras and energies, and we got you can see on my Facebook page, we got the rice experiment. Have you heard about that?
No.
So you got two rice jar you fill with just uncooked rice filled with water. One you've got the word love, the other one hate. So after 15 days or so of consistently just not only with the words, but setting positive intention to one, negative intention to the other one, the negative intention one going all black and moldy.
Wow, so you're really exposing them to spirituality already and
yeah. So that jar has been 3.5 years, is still completely black, and the other one is still completely white. Your intention, how important is it? Another example is we got them to put a blindfold on. They could read a book, they can see, they can walk with blindfold. So we think that we need to use our eyes to see, but there's so much more beyond the five senses world that we know. So just seeing them being able to do puzzles and even play on the iPad with the blindfold on, my jaw just dropped, because with kids it's so much easier for them to learn this ability, so much more harder for adults to learn it. So we started with the cosmic, and then we eventually also taking everything that we've learned to Worldschooling. So we bought a one-way ticket to New Zealand as a trial, just to drive from South Island all the way to North Island. We visited farm stay, we visited museums as a family together, and just again those incorporated learning lessons along the way, every step of the journey. And we're actually going to go to Asia and Europe and different places as well. Rather than going to a Saturday school to learn Chinese, why don't I spend a year in Taiwan to learn the language and being immersed in it? Yeah. But then COVID hit, so they kind of shut down the plan.
So then, did you originally intended to forever teach them at home, or was it let's try it out, and you knew it was going to be a short period of time that you were doing it?
I had no expectation of how long it is. If it's going to be a day, a month, a year, then so be it.
And it ended up being 2 years?
2 years, because of COVID hitting. For many of you would think that, okay, homeschooling, you don't have the social interaction.
Yes.
We actually, each week, we met up with other homeschooling kids that they have social play. They have sporting days as well, that they, again, play sports with other kids. So they have normal kids activity. They did soccer and other sports with other kids as well after school. But we never found a group that we really gelled with and other kids that they gelled with. So a lot of the common kids that would homeschool would be maybe they have learning difficulties, or maybe they were being bullied in school, or maybe they have ADHD, or maybe some of them relocated to this part of the world. I didn't find too many people that have a very progressive thinking or entrepreneurial type of thinking, or the kids for whatever reason just really gelled. And because of that reason, without that strong social connection, that my kids really only in hindsight I knew that they really missed it. They were still having fun, enjoyment. In fact, when I asked them to go back to the traditional schooling, they were very hesitant and fearful of it. But within the first week, they started to really embrace it and remember, okay, I get to see my friends again.
Yeah. So did you still have to consider teaching them some of the basic curriculum that that's required in school? Because let's just say now that they're transitioning to the real school, do they test to see if your kids know what they need to know at this age?
So half a year before we transitioned back to school, we got a tutor in place, and I got them to do regular exercise books, English and maths. Those were the main thing that we got them to do. But when they got back to school, they weren't too far behind, if at all. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Okay, and how challenging is it for you guys with your lifestyle? I mean, like when I had to homeschool because of the COVID, oh my God, it was, hard, very hard. And you chose to homeschool. And of course, COVID hit and you had to as well. But, how did it take a toll on your relationship in any way? Or did your life have to really change to adapt to your kids all the time?
Yeah, in terms of like work, I was fortunate I didn't have to work and my wife didn't have to work. But the strain came from spending so much time with the kids because we know that the kids can push your buttons.
Yes.
And being like 24/7 with them, like it definitely like pushed a lot of buttons. But they also taught us a lot about letting go and being at peace. Because like seeing your kids doing nothing and seemingly like marking around, oh my God, am I being a bad parenting? And it's not the social norm. If everyone is unschooling or doing the homeschooling thing, it's easy. But when everyone is going to school, and if your kids didn't work out, you could say that at least I followed the traditional route.
Yes.
But if they fail because of you taking an unusual path, then it's like, at least for most people, the onus is on you.
Mm-hmm.
Your parenting led them down to that path.
Yes, because you wanted to experiment.
So that was the thing that we had to let go and be at peace because none of our friends and family was taking this route.
Okay, so then in short, looking back at the 2 years that you've had, do you have any regrets? Would you encourage it? What do you have to say about the whole homeschooling experience?
I'd say if you got a strong calling and your gut feelings is to go for it, provided your partner's actually supporting it as well, like I would say like by all means like do it. No regrets whatsoever. There's a lot of learnings on things what I know now. I may do things differently. Do I regret any of those things? No, because it's all part of the learning journey. And I guess in this journey of life, which is kind of like a side topic, is about finding your meaning, finding the inner peace and the outer abundance and being able to find joy in every single moment. So in my old previous version of myself, if it's chasing success, in terms of academic result, would they get better result by going to school and doing like hours of tutoring after? Fantastic.
Yeah.
But that wasn't my goal. If the goal was to make more money, you can arguably say going to school, not going to school, networking and private school and all that. But again, my goal was for them to be themselves and finding themselves. So by homeschooling, I think it allowed them more time, more space to find themselves.
I love this. The moral of the story I found is that life is your own design. You can design it any way. You don't have to follow, just because the kindy time, going kindy and uni time, everything is the way the society expects of you. But you basically went ahead with your feeling and you decided to experiment, and it's not the end of the world. It's always a learning experience for both you and your kids. And at the end of the day, we can never guarantee the success of our kids because there's still going to be the next 20 years for them to change.
Yeah. You see many parents like teaching their kids the exact same way, but one turn out this way, the other turn out completely different.
Yes.
So a lot of the times I feel that we put too much emphasis on our parenting as a result of how they turn out. How they turn out, my belief is based on their life path and their own choices. They're going to turn out how they're going to turn out.
Well, there you go. Love to hear from you. Would you homeschool your kids or have you? Love to hear in the comments below. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me on.